Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the International Brotherhood of Magicians official podcast. I'm Jason Michaels, and I'm so excited because I finally have both my compadres back joining me. Ben Young, Scott Cantrell, so happy to see both of you at the same time.
We worked out our differences and decided we could both be on the pod.
Jason, would you please let Ben know that there are still a few outstanding things we need to discuss?
I love you guys. Y'all are the best. Oh my gosh. I'm
Hello,
so I'm so
Benjamin.
you know,
Hello, Jonathan.
oh boy. Oh boy. It's always I love it's funny. Having one of you gone for one week and the other one gone for the other one episode and the other one gone for the other episode, I realized kind of like, okay, this is kind of what this guy brings to the podcast. And it's like, oh, and then this guy brings this other thing to the podcast. And so it's like I'm realizing our strengths and weaknesses and
Hey, Ben, we should do a podcast without Jason to figure out what he brings to the podcast.
it would be
It's
all
gonna
strengths and no weaknesses.
No, I don't know. I don't know. Jason does a lot. Jason's,
What
yeah,
do you
like tell us to show up.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
exactly.
true. That's true. That's
Exactly.
exactly true. Hey, I just want to tell you guys, I jumped on, we post little clips and whatnot of the podcast on our social media sites, IBM social media sites. And so every now and then we get some feedback from folks and oh boy, do we
All right. Yes.
oh boy.
Okay, good. Feedback.
Do we have some feedback to go through or what? Well, I just want to let you know that podcast episode number 30, where we talked about what people want to see at a magic convention, got
Yeah.
quite a few responses. Now, this was
Good.
when I checked it over a week ago. It may have changed since then. The thing got 27 different responses from people who wanted to share their opinions
Good.
and things. So
No.
I thought I would give you guys some I copied and pasted a few of those into notes here that I could read and I just thought I would share a little bit of feedback and see what you guys think about what they
Love
said.
it.
So, regarding things people want to see at a magic convention, Terry Morgan said, I don't know if enough people would be interested in the business side of magic at a regular magic convention. Perhaps a separate convention focusing on the business side of magic would be more appropriate. Paul Draper does great seminars on the business side of magic through Jeff McBride's Magic and Mystery School, which is an interesting idea.
It's totally fair, right?
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think that
agreed.
that's something that every convention has to juggle is content that appeals to both amateurs and professionals, knowing that most magicians are or amateurs or hobbyists, not full-time pros, but also providing things that the pros get out of it. And there are some, workshops and conferences that are geared towards the business side of things.
Yeah,
Um, I think that sorry, did you want my opinion? I just kind of jumped in.
I'm glad.
Okay. For me, I love it if at a convention I get a little bit of everything. I love the variety of it. That's one of the things I like about conventions. And so if I can get someone kind of tipping their hat of like certain things that they do, maybe it's not a full-blown intensive on business, but getting the little tips and tricks from the working pros is valuable. But totally understand, like you can't overload people with that if it's not relevant to everyone.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
will. I'll concur. And just a shout out to Danny Orleans, who did a
Yeah.
spectacular lecture at the last I.B.M. Convention in Houston
Yep.
on his work as a trade show performer, which he's absolutely stellar, top world class trade show magician and all around good guy, and incredibly knowledgeable about that market in particular. He does all kinds of things, but in particular that market, and did a just a wonderful lecture at the last convention. And I think, Ben, to your point, that's the type of thing, right? You can do one or two of those kind of lectures at the event, at a convention, and I'm the same way. I like variety in the convention. So I want to go hear the business guy. I want to go see somebody lecture on knuckle busting card magic that I can appreciate and love to watch, but I'll never do. I want to go see the stage guy or the comedy guy, you know. So I love the variety of it. And the other great thing that Danny brought to that particular lecture, I mean, he totally knows his audience. He shared like 3 or 4 pieces of magic and taught
Hmm.
it. And so
Yeah.
you were going and you were learning about all this trade show stuff, but you were also, you know, gaining tremendous insight from a world-class magician on actual performance pieces that he does in his actual performance. And
And
so
they're great.
he was able to appeal to a broad audience in that way. I think um, that type of lecture for a convention like this scratches the itch without, you know, being too much.
Yeah, and I think that's the kind of balance you have to hit, right? If you are at a general magic convention and someone spends an hour talking about promotion or Facebook ads or anything else that is just 100% business, that's going to turn a lot of people off.
Yeah,
But
Hmm.
if you're saying, here's material I do at this type of gig that I work a lot, that is applicable to so many people because you're not just learning a trick in a vacuum, you're actually seeing how something can work in the real world.
yeah,
I think this might be one of those cases where, I remember we talked about on that on that episode, we talked about several tracks that people can go to. So
yeah.
maybe you have the
Mhm.
business track where you have a day where there's 3 different lectures. It's all about business. But if you don't want to attend that, you go to the performance track, which 3 different lectures about performing. Just it's a
Sure.
possibility. All right, Michael Baker had this to say. I know people, including myself, who would eat up such things at a convention, but I've also seen magic lectures at clubs fall flat if they were not more or less about tricks. Therefore, in order to ensure a successful event as someone who books lecturers to come in, I have to go with what is proven ground. My suggestion is not to expect someone else's convention to change, but to actually do the work of organizing and hosting a convention based on your ideas, then report back with your results. Well, just for the, I mean, we were talking about the IBM convention, so like I mean, I get no. First off, thanks for your feedback, and I
Yeah.
appreciate what you're saying. If you're saying that I should host my own convention so that I could find this stuff out, we were specifically talking about the IBM convention, so it's an yes. Well, I think that
We're
what we'll
soliciting feedback to make it even better.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So I think what we'll do is we'll see what the programming is for this year's convention, and maybe even make comment about it, and see what
Yeah.
we loved, and then things that we thought could be improved. Okay, Alex Fisher says yes, and it would be great to have this. I think this was a specific post about business stuff. So these are what
Mhm.
a lot of these comments are about. The only problem is 90% of people who turned up to these conventions are not full-time workers. They're part-time of with hobbies and therefore mostly tricks. Got
Yep.
it.
That's
Yep.
very fair.
Dan
Yep.
Bowen said, "Why would anyone share that information?"
I think I saw this post and I understand the intention of it. Um, Obviously anybody who we would invite to lecture at the IBM convention, they would choose to accept our invitation.
Right.
We wouldn't chain them up and drag them and make them lecture on anything that they didn't
Tell
want
us
to
your
lecture
secrets.
about. And that goes for business secrets as well as magic secrets. Although that is a great premise for a setup for a lecture, is the reluctant secret giver, right? The
That's a
reluctant
good
That's
idea.
the
great.
lecturer who
That's
didn't
great.
want to be there, and he's like, crap, you know, we pull. That would be funny. That would
I
be
have nothing else to give.
yeah, yeah. So with that said, if we were to invite, I'll use Danny's name again, just as an example. If we were to invite him and ask him to do a trade show lecture, and he would say, I would prefer not to because I'm very successful in this market, and I don't feel comfortable sharing some of what it's taken me a lot of time, money, and effort to learn, and I'd rather keep that for myself. That's a totally honorable, in my opinion. Other people might disagree, but in my opinion, that's a totally honorable position to take. Very appreciative of Danny being willing and generous enough to share what he's doing now, what is actually working. But if he had chosen not to, and this goes for any performer, chosen not to, that's a totally fair position for them to take. So we wouldn't have an expectation that they would want to. But if that's information that the audience would enjoy, and we know people who are good at it, then we can certainly invite them to do a lecture, and then they can professionally accept or decline.
As a magician for the last 20 plus years, as a professional entertainer full time, I think that there are some people who want to share the information because
Correct.
like they genuinely like, look, this has taken me a long time to learn this, and I want to help other people in the
Hmm.
future. I want to shorten the learning curve. I want to help and there are a lot of different reasons why somebody would want to share the information. I understand the
That's
idea
right.
that if you're successful in business, a lot of successful businesses don't go out there and share their playbook. Like I get that. But the magic community, at least for a lot of people, there are lots of people who want to give back, want to quote unquote help or improve the magic world. So I actually do think there are reasons.
There may not be a time on this podcast for this discussion, but
Mhm.
I do think uh, Dan's point totally accepted. I do think this discussion around the culture and community of magic and how freely we give secrets, whether they're business secrets or magic secrets themselves, could be a rich vein of discussion. I was just having this conversation yesterday afternoon, actually, with a magician friend of mine, and
You
neither
have
one of neither
magician
neither
friends
one of these
other than
guys.
me? Somebody wasn't me?
Well, I don't really consider Ben a friend, so I
Uh,
guess it wasn't you, Jason.
yeah, yeah,
You didn't
Yeah.
hear me say anything.
yeah.
Touche. Um, all that to say, he was talking about his experience in the community, and we were having a good discussion around what is the appropriate culture of magic, or what we would prefer the culture of magic to be around guarding secrets as opposed to being willing to share, and under what circumstances and those kinds of things. So it's probably a worthwhile discussion at some point.
Go ahead and just make note of that because I think that probably is a good like longer conversation.
Yeah.
Gary Mitchell said, "You think you're entitled to have successful folks talk to you and question them? I don't think so. Tony Spina took risks and some failed at Tannen's Jubilees. He was my friend and boss early on." That's I tell you what, there's some people with some opinion. Like, wow,
It's great.
guys,
I mean, I love the fact that people are coming with these opinions because, it gives us something to talk about. Um,
that's a good point.
uh, first of all, I'm envious of his experiences with Tony. So
Yeah.
kudos on
Right?
that. That I'm sure. Is it Gary? I'm sure
It
Gary
was
has
Gary.
some
Yeah,
really
Gary.
cool, fun stories that he could share. So hopefully we'll maybe have the opportunity to find
Tony
out.
Spina, a legend, man, a legend.
Absolutely. Again, it's not an expectation, right? It's an invitation.
Yeah.
There is an important difference between asking someone for help and them politely and professionally declining appropriately, or asking someone for help and them saying, sure, right? And I don't fault or judge either one, right? In the appropriate, as long as it's responded to appropriately. If someone comes and asks me, not that I'm an authority on any of this, but if someone comes and asks me about how I put together a comedy magic show or how I get booked or anything like that, depending on who it is, the nature of the ask, I'm probably going to be more likely to be generous and share pretty much anything that they want to know. That's the nature of who I am. But again, I don't fault anybody who would prefer not to share that. I don't really have any personal judgment on that.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I think the point is well made, but we definitely want successful people lecturing at the convention. I don't want unsuccessful people lecturing at the convention. So it's up to them whether they accept the invite, and it's up to them, for the most part, what they want to share on
Yeah.
stage. So,
Yeah.
Although
Oh,
there could be room for a successful person who has had some failures to discuss the failures at
ooh,
the convention.
that would be a
yes.
fun
Here's how I
conversation.
screwed up X, Y, and Z,
And here's, yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
No,
here's what I would have done different.
love
That
it.
would be
Yeah,
that's
that's
yeah.
Love
great.
it.
That's
Love it.
great.
That
But
would be fantastic.
uh, I think the term Gary used was entitled or entitlement, somewhere in the entitled space. Was
He
that
said
right,
you think
Jason?
you're entitled to have successful
Yeah.
folks talk to you.
So I totally agree with what Scott said, and I just want to add that in general, coming across asking for any sort of advice or help with entitlement is never the way to do it, whether you're planning a convention or approaching anybody.
Yep.
Just for the
Yep.
record, that doesn't usually go that well. So
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah,
Andrew Pegman said business information is confidential. Stop asking. Daniel,
Why do I immediately want to ask Andrew a business question?
Hey,
Uh,
I'm sorry. Because this was like a while ago, right? That
this
this
was
went up.
this was a couple weeks ago.
What was the prompt? What did you say to these people?
Man, I would have to go back into Facebook and find
Okay.
that. It was just a clip that was talking about, if I remember correctly, the clip was talking about things that we would like to see at a convention. And if
Uh,
I remember what I was talking about at the time, which I sort of do, I just remember talking about
oh,
how I would like
to
to
learn more
see
from them.
I would like to
Mm,
see several show producers do a panel where they talk about the things that
mm,
they, and so I think some of these folks are
yeah.
like, hey, don't ask
Okay.
successful people. But
Okay.
again, to your point, it's an invitation. We're not making anybody do anything they don't want to do. Okay, Daniel Shard said, oh, yeah, I would love to see these sorts of talks at an event. And Heather McFall said, hallelujah, brother. All right. And then we had, hold on a second, because this is a very long. Oh, let's see here. Okay, I'll give you this one. You remember our buddy who reached out to us a while back, Jonah Knight? Jonah Knight. We were having a
yeah,
This is
conversation.
about bizarre magic, right?
Yeah, Jonah Knight
Yeah.
from the Bizarre Magic. His
yeah,
email to me said, "Well, now I'm a regular emailer."
that's great. We want more.
All right, so I'm gonna feel free to just jump in at any time. This is kind of a long email, but it's a really good email, and so that's why I normally I wouldn't just like read out an email, but this is really good. He was really spent a lot of time thinking about it and offered some cool ideas. Magic convention ideas. I mentioned before that I used to work in sci-fi conventions. Some of these ideas are not mine. Some of them are a mix from experience.
Cool.
The cost of going to a good convention is an issue. If the convention tells me that the programming isn't usable for me, that is an issue, but there are ways to erase that concern. More than one track is so important. Give me options and let me make choices. Make transparency about what content will be in a lecture or workshop. I get the feeling that when you book a guest lecture, you don't ask what they will talk about. A brief 1 to 2 sentence summary on the website ahead of time would be a big help. Good idea.
Yep.
Design a structure that facilitates attendees meeting and connecting with other attendees. This doesn't happen by accident. You have to intentionally design it. Part of that is prioritizing it from the beginning. A couple of years ago, we did a great first
Mhm.
timers reception, and that was in Pittsburgh, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
And it was awesome. And I think we need to get back to doing things like that because magicians, have so much in common. But then they also come from all walks of life. So,
Yep.
making connections, making it easy for them to talk to each other is important. Related to this, I could be wrong, but I get a sense that once a guest is, okay, hold on, let me scoop. Okay, I just read that. All right. Oh, okay. Well, I will say what he said. He was talking about convention lecturers don't always tell them what they're going to lecture. I don't necessarily mean what the I this info at a minimum should be shared with other lecturers so you don't accidentally get three presentations that are all
They're
about the
so
same
similar.
thing. Yeah,
Agreed. Yep.
that's a good idea. There's a sentiment that has been expressed on the show a few times that I think is pulling you in the wrong direction. Basically, any programming is good enough because any magician should be able to get at least one usable idea out of anything, even if it's something not relevant to them. Please stop with this. I suspect that this is a big reason why Magic convention attendance is down, while fandom convention attendance is rising. Instead of thinking there's probably something for everyone if they look hard enough, change it to how can we deliberately create moments for you no matter what you like?
I like that
Interesting.
shift a lot.
Yeah.
Hmm.
His next comment says you put this into practice by embracing women. Amazing. I love it. And now programming. So a lot there was a lot in this email. I'm not going to read the whole thing,
Yeah.
but it was really good and really very much appreciated. So
Thank you,
good
Jonah. If
stuff.
you have other comments, please share them.
Yeah, I love when people want to give us, ideas,
Yeah,
give us their feedback. It's fantastic.
yep.
I do love the idea of the transparency of what's going to be covered in lectures because that I had never really thought about it. And now I'm like, oh, right. It's always like Danny Orleans lecture, Jason Michaels lecture, Scott
Mhm.
Cantrell not lecturing. But it's always, you go based on the name, you really have no idea. But even if the lecture just had a name, so it gives some kind of idea of what is in store, you could at least decide, if you want to attend or if you'd be better off hanging with some friends in the dealer room or the jam room or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of times you only know it by reputation. You're like, oh,
Yeah,
well, I know this person is a card guy or whatever.
yeah. And especially with some of the lesser known people that some of the conventions bring in, having that little blurb in there can be the thing that sells you on attending when even
I
if you
like
don't
That's
know
that.
who they
true.
are.
I
That's
like
true.
that. You know what that would so this is going to sound stupid. It's going to sound like it's already been said, but so there's that as far as like the convention programming. So when you're at the convention, so that you know what it is, but knowing having that on the convention website so that you know,
Hmm.
oh, when I go to this convention, this is what the lecture is going to be about. It's like, ooh,
Yeah.
because somebody may not. I mean, look, we have folks from all walks of life and all amounts of experience. Somebody may not know who John Armstrong is, and they may not know John Armstrong
Hmm.
created Tiny Plunger and that he's was a super highly award-winning close-up magician. That he transitioned into stand-up magic. They may not know that, and so and for the people who do know that, they may go, okay, is he going to teach close-up magic? Is he going to teach stand-up? What is he teaching?
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. And if he is doing a lecture, how do you know what he's going to do? Is he doing close up or is he doing stand up or is he doing both?
And
Mm-hmm.
that's a
Yeah.
great point because on the site there are great bios for all the talent, right? If you don't know who Jonathan Levitt is, right, there's a great bio that will tell you who Jonathan Levitt is. But in terms of, a lecture that whoever may be doing, um, that is not as specific. And I think it would be easy enough to get from a lecturer. They're going to know, they may not know specifically every item that they're going to talk about during the lecture, but they're going to know generally what the essence of the lecture is going to be, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Danny doesn't have to name the tricks he's going to show in the trade show lecture, but he can talk about the key beats that he's going to, here I'm going to talk about the business principles in terms of landing and maximizing trade show work, and I'm going to share with you three tricks or some tricks that I use actually in my trade show performances. Right. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all you would
Mm-hmm.
need. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the blurb on the back of a book.
Yeah.
It's like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Great.
why
Great.
Yeah.
should I read the book?
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like that very
Yeah.
much. That's good. Man, have you guys seen I haven't read the new episode of Genie that just came out, but I am so I'll be honest, I'm a little jealous. Like they tackled a topic that is like near and dear to my heart. And they have and so like I can't wait to read this article. They got
Well,
a bunch.
let's tackle it now and see
No,
how close you were
that's
to the
what do you
artist.
think?
Oh, oh,
That's
sorry.
what we're doing.
Okay,
That's
sorry.
all right. So the cover of Genii Magazine, they tackled the topic of the manufactured standing ovation, not the standing
Oh,
ovation, the manufactured standing ovation,
Mhm.
which is
yeah.
that's quite a topic to that is quite a topic to take on. Okay, yeah, let's define it for let's define it. All
Okay.
right. I mean, I think anybody who understands the English language and definitions probably knows what this means, but let's call it what it is. There are some shows that you see that you naturally want to, at the end of the show, it's been so impressive, it's been so amazing, it's been so emotional, it's so excellent, whatever. You want to give it a standing ovation. You want to give the performer or the performers a standing ovation because that is your way of thanking them for the excellence, for just, vulnerability, whatever it happens to be, just how great it was. And then there are some shows that occur where the magician or I mean, since we're talking about since we're magicians, we'll
Yeah.
talk about magic shows. The magician or the performers in the show basically manufacture a situation where you feel compelled, you feel like it is required that at the end you give a standing ovation. So for instance, back in the day, years ago, when I was seeing a lot of production shows, what they would do, and some of these were like Pigeon Forge, Branson, different types of production shows. What they did at the end of the show was they dropped the American flag and they said, okay, if you're a veteran, if you're a first responder, if you've ever, served, please stand up and we're going to give you, your well-deserved, thank you. And but they were doing this at the end of the show. So it was basically a manipulation tactic to get people to stand up and applaud
Right.
and in a sense transfer the emotion from that into the ending
Of the show.
of the show. And so they're basically creating the situation through using manipulation tactics where the audience, it's I mean at the absolute simplest thing, a magician who says, would you agree that what I'm about to do is totally impossible? It's totally incredible. And if I get it right, it's worth this, you jumping to your feet and giving me a standing ovation. Everybody goes, yeah. And then they
Sorry.
do it. And of course, everybody just agreed that they would give him a standing ovation. So they stand up and give him a standing ovation. As you can tell, this is the type of thing that pisses me off. I haven't. I haven't started raving about it. I haven't started ranting about it. I haven't started I haven't raised my voice yet, but I very, very much dislike this type of thing. So let's talk about it. Anybody jump in?
Sorry, I'm still trying to get it down. I was a little nauseous.
I think we're all going to be agree in agreement on this one.
I
Okay,
remember,
let me just say this. When I was doing before I was doing magic, the type of magic where I was really putting parts, pieces of me, like getting vulnerable and authentic and stuff like this. I saw enough shows that I said, oh, there is a formula that you can, there's a formula that you can, there's some sense of combination of ingredients that you can put together to get people to make them want to stand up. And sometimes it was very obvious, and other times it wasn't obvious at all. But
Yeah.
if you see enough shows, you start seeing, you go, oh, okay. And so look, I'm going to tell you right now, I thought about that type of stuff. I thought long and hard about, okay, how do I create? Because at the end of the day, if the audience stands up and they're applauding and they look around and everybody else is standing up, what does that say to the audience member? This show was worth my time.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it says. It says, this show was worth my time. This show was worth my money. And in today's world, not back in the day when I was thinking about it, but in today's world, they're going to give you a five star
Right.
rating because oh my gosh,
yeah,
it's standing ovation. The whole place was standing. They were losing their minds for this. People were screaming and hollering. Best show I've ever seen, and it's solely because of a manipulation tactic. All right,
I
now,
remember reading about this. I
okay,
remember reading an effect that, or a presentation for, I think it was for the Invisible Deck. And the way that you would build it up, is the deck would be in an envelope or whatever, and you'd hold it up and say like, this is the standing ovation material,
Right.
and you'd set it aside, and you'd call back to that, a couple of times, and then there you go. But I remember I read this when I was like 20 or something, right? And
That was like 6 months ago
I was
or
going to
yeah,
say, listeners to the podcast know that maybe that was before the pod existed, but it's enticing, right?
yeah,
Because you think, well, I mean, that should be the goal, right? I should have a show so great that people give a standing ovation. Why shouldn't I do this? Now, I never did it. It never felt quite right. I was so tempted. I never did it. And but there's just something about it that's it's a little skeevy, and I would rather earn it
yeah, exactly.
earnestly. I would rather have everybody tell me at the end of the show that they loved it, but no one actually gave a standing ovation, than to get it just to make, I don't know, does it make you feel good? Does it, I don't, I feel like people see through it if you do something like that. At least now. Maybe they didn't, but I feel like they see through it now. But I
I
will say, before I hand it over to Scott, who's ready to go, and Jason is just enjoying this so much.
I love it.
There's nothing wrong with stacking the deck in your favor. There are ways to build the climax of your show
right.
in a way that naturally brings that momentum. I've seen people close with like a magic square, and you get that momentum going as you start circling the numbers and adding them up, and boom, 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 it gets faster and faster. And then there's just this like big like
Really.
hit at the end, and it's sort of this natural feeling that there's like this tension that needs to be released, and people spontaneously stand up. They're not saying stand up, but it
Right.
so again, that's there's nothing wrong with stacking the deck in your favor. Craft the end of your show in a way that actually compels people to do it, but without you telling them to do so. Thank you.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
Scott.
I was about to stand up, but it didn't quite get there. Uh,
Well
uh,
done, Scott. Well done.
no, I agree with everything Ben said. Especially the second part. I think an important question to ask is why,
Hmm.
right? What is the I think there are different answers to this, and maybe there's more than the ones I'll come up with, but maybe everybody has their own answer. But why, what is the point of trying to manufacture a standing ovation? I think the two main answers are ego. Again, I'm going to try to reserve judgment, but I think
Sure.
one of the answers would be ego. It does feel good when people stand up and applaud. It feels great. I think it feels less great when it's manufactured. Certainly feels, from my point of view, when I've been in those audiences and been told to stand up, and you look rude if you're not standing up, because everyone else is and you are told to. Uh, in my opinion, it's awkward for the audience. So, but ego could be one reason that someone does it. Another reason could be we want the photo, we want the video, we want the picture. And okay, I great, I get why. A standing ovation in the right venue, the right size crowd, and you on stage in that pose could be a very valuable asset. This is where I would also say that should be earned. I don't want to go so far as to say if you manufactured it and you got the photo and you use that to market that you're misleading future clients. I won't go that far, but you're on, it feels to me, it's my opinion that you're on that track. Um, and if you're, and the second part to Ben's point, which I really like, there is a difference, I think, between manufacturing a standing ovation in a way that is purely manipulative, in a way that is the examples that Jason gave or that Ben gave. This is the standing ovation material, or this is so good that every time I perform this, the audience jumps to their feet. Um, that's different than designing an emotional path that the audience will naturally follow, where they make their own decision about standing up and clapping and giving you a standing ovation. One is about designing a show in such a way that that is a common and natural result, and the material being good enough to support it. The other one is really about manipulation. Now, someone could say they're both manipulation, and that is a reasonably fair point, but one is grotesque and the other is intelligent.
Are you
So
grotesque or are you intelligent?
one is
Let us know in the comments.
yeah, yeah. One is dumbing down, and one, in my opinion, one dumbs down the art, the other elevates it. Um,
Yep.
and that's one guy's opinion, and I'm sure we'll get some good, hopefully thoughtful descriptions. And I'm sure some people out there have done the manufactured thing or been a part of it, and if they're willing to share and defend it for different reasons, then happy to listen. It's just we're talking about our own experiences and our own opinions here. I agree with Ben. I would rather the audience sit in their seats and not stand up and give me a standing ovation and feel good about clapping and feel good about the show than me tell them to stand up. And now they don't want to talk to me after the show because they didn't like it as much because the last experience I gave them before they walked out of the room was an awkward one where they're like, it's you know what it's similar to, in my opinion, it's similar to the server at a restaurant, and let's just assume they've done a fine job, right? I'm not gonna say they did great, they didn't do bad. The server at the restaurant did a fine job, and you give them cash, and they know how much the bill was, and they said, "Do you want your change?"
Oh.
And it's like I probably didn't want my change. I probably was going to let you keep it, but you shouldn't assume, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Don't assume that the tip is what is the difference. Maybe I was going to tip you more. So it's that same kind of awkward kind of a question when you're asking the audience, "Don't you want to stand up for this? Don't you?" And it's like
Hmm.
it's completely inauthentic in term or
Yeah.
inorganic in terms of the audience experience. And it
Hmm.
feels so much better when you design a compelling show and you do your thing and the audience stands up of their own accord. That's, that's pretty special. In terms of getting the photo, do good material, get the standing ovation and take the picture.
Okay.
So
And what a good point that it's at the end of your show.
yeah,
Like this is the last impression. And oh, I'm sick at the thought of ending the show with them going, "Well, we said we'd stand up. It's this time. This is the stand up time." I'd rather them go, "Well, it's time to stand up and leave because the show's over."
yeah, yeah.
But I mean, yeah, that's is that the impression you want to end the show with? Is coaxing them into doing something for you for
Y-
yourself?
So it's so
Yeah.
yeah. So this I mean this is very interesting, and I pretty much agree with you all on basically everything you've said. You do have to take into consideration that for some people, this is you getting that standing ovation, however you get it. This is validation for the person who hired you, the person who's sitting in the
Mhm.
audience watching, going, "Well, they got a standing ovation. There's not going to be any complaints. My job is safe." Or the
Fair.
producer who brought you into their theater and they said, "Man, look at this. The whole place is standing. Must have been a killer show. No matter what I thought of it, this is what the audience thought of it." But even to your point of capturing the photo or capturing the video so that you can use it for promotional materials, if you get three or four or five standing ovations on a reel, and somebody clicks on that reel and they see all these different groups in different settings jumping up and standing to their feet, they don't even know the context. I mean, technically, you could have gotten those without even doing a show. You could have
Yeah.
done your show and say, "Everybody stay in your seat. We're going to shoot some pickup shots." Now, when I raise my hands above my head, all of you guys jump up to your feet and,
Yeah.
give a standing ovation like that. They could have done that just as easily as
Yeah.
they could have gotten an actual real or
I think
manufactured
I
standing
think
ovation.
I think maybe this is wrong thinking, and I'm open to changing my mind. I actually think that's more okay. I think it's more okay to stage the photo and the audience to know that it's
It's an
staged,
interesting idea.
as opposed to trying to manipulate the audience into it. In the way that we described before. I think
Hmm.
I'm more okay with that. Um, I, you know, I being in front of a corporate group, maybe there's a section of your performance or your presentation where you have the entire audience stand up. Not so they'll clap, but because they're part of a exercise or routine that you're doing, and the picture is taken then, or you do something and they happen to be standing up and they clap. If I'm not going to call that a standing ovation in my marketing material, but I might use that picture,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Let them
Um,
come to their own conclusion.
Yeah, and someone might say, well, that's just as bad, and I'm open to. I don't think that it is because I'm not misrepresenting anything, and that experience will be duplicated at another show. This shot will not cut away, kind of thing. But um,
Hmm.
I do think there's discussion around this exact topic we're talking about, but I actually think staging, because I mean, think about it, and I think we've all done this. You take a picture of a selfie with you and the audience, right? And the audience is, yeah, they're going crazy. I mean, that's a staged photo, but talk about the impact that that video or photo has, or when you video your audience and everybody go crazy when the camera pans by. Well, anybody who understands how video works knows that that was a directed shot, but the impact of the video is still pretty great. right?
Hmm.
You still achieve the objective of that particular piece of content or media. So actually, I'm more okay with that because it's transparent, maybe.
Yeah, there's an agreement with you and the audience that you're with that,
Yeah.
hey, it would help me if we did this thing. Would you mind? Versus, I'm going to manipulate you into doing it so that I can use it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a moment ago that part of it is an ego thing. And I would agree with you. I would agree that for some people it is an ego thing. But I was thinking about this just a moment ago and I said, well, what if it's not an ego thing? What if it's a lack of confidence thing? Like you don't
Mm,
really believe
Interesting.
what you're doing is that great. And so you're like, I have to create this standing ovation for like almost like for self-preservation.
Right.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I don't believe that what I'm doing is truly exceptional. It's good enough. They're having fun. I'm going to get the audience walking out of here thinking to themselves, "Oh, that was hopefully thinking that it is even better than it actually than I think it really is." I mean, is you think that's a thing? You think some people are doing it because they're like almost like trying to protect their look, let's be honest. Performers, many times when you put yourselves in front of an audience, that's a fragile state to be in. You're putting
100%.
yourself
yeah.
in front of the audience. And you're basically, a lot of people are saying, give me your validation. Give
Hmm.
me your validation through applause. Give me your validation through laughter, whatever. Give me your validation. So, to a certain extent, maybe folks are just trying to protect their fragile emotional state.
Right. It's still in the sort of ego space, right? But it's not as much I'm so amazing and so I want you to stand up. It's I'm not so amazing and so I want you to stand up so that I feel amazing.
Yeah. It's a level of
So,
insecurity as opposed to
yeah.
narcissism. Yeah.
So the things that come to mind for me as someone who doesn't coax standing ovations and therefore doesn't get them as often. Um,
If we see your promotional material and it has a bunch of freaking standing ovations on it, we're going to know what went down.
Hey, real quick, when we do a
yeah.
live podcast at a convention sometime, I just want to go ahead and plant this seed. At the end of our
Stop.
podcast
No,
recording, I want
nope,
If
everybody
nope.
to stand up and give us a standing ovation.
if you felt like we've provided value to you, it wouldn't be out of line.
Yeah, yeah.
Everybody stand up and tell us we're great.
All right, sorry.
But
Go
in
ahead.
regards to this, the fragility thing, the insecurity, the things that come to mind as someone that has never thought about that is have material in your show that you're really proud of, that you really enjoy. Like, do it for you. Obviously you want the audience to enjoy it, but if you're happy with the stuff that you're doing, that's huge. Let yourself be more vulnerable in your show, which doesn't have to be, a sob story or anything like that, but just let them get to know you better, try to connect with them more, and do a meet and greet afterward. Like, stand there and say, "Hey, I'm going to be at the back of the room if you want to say hi. I'd love to meet you." And start getting that validation
Yeah,
from those smaller interactions than the huge standing ovation at the end.
That's great.
yeah, that is
That's
great.
great.
I'm on fire today,
You're
guys.
on fire. Okay, so I have one more question regarding this topic. um, if you're if you've been around the block long enough and you understand show structure, you understand how to create a strong opening, how to create a climactic finish, how to create levels, whether those are funny moments or maybe poignant moments in your show. How much, if you're designing a show, how much manipulation is it to design a show that when you finish the show design, you go, there's a strong chance I will get a standing ovation without the sort of coaxing
Overt.
element,
Yeah.
the overt now is where you stand comment.
Good
And is
question.
that manipulation or is that just good show design?
My short opinion is it's good show design.
Yep.
I mean,
Agreed.
what is the ultimate? I say ultimate. That's way too strong of a word, and I have a caveat to what I'm about to say. But what is a reasonable goal milestone for a performer or a cast of performers? I went to a show last night at Tennessee Performing Arts Center, and in that environment, um, standing ovations are obviously they're not solicited because this is a professional company and they're doing a musical or a play. Um, but in that environment, in that particular venue, standing ovations are common, and the audience expects to stand up before the show even starts because they believe the caliber of the show will rise to that. And in my opinion, it often does.
Hmm.
Not 100% of the time, but often. So to your point, is that manipulation or strong show design? I think it's strong show design. The caveat is it depends on what your intention is.
Oh, I'm glad you said that. I'm
Yeah.
really
So
glad you said that.
what is your intention with the show? And I'm gonna use an example that we've all talked about before, but it deserves to be talked
I
about
feel like
again.
I feel like I
The,
know where you're going
the
with this.
guys know probably who Derek Delgadio's in and of itself show.
I've heard of that.
You heard of it, yeah. Um, I think the two times I saw it in New York, I mean, it's an instant standing ovation show.
Hmm.
But without getting confirmation from Derek, but knowing a little bit about Derek and knowing a little bit about the show, I can all but 100% guarantee he did not design the show with the intent of getting a standing ovation at all. That was probably it wasn't even forget. I can't speak for him, so ask Derek. Um, I'm sure. Well, I don't want to speak for Derek on it, whether it felt good to get the standing ovation. I don't think that's why he did the show at all. I don't know if standing ovation was even on his list of goals for the show. I kind
Right.
of doubted it was. Um, so the standing ovation in that environment was really more cathartic for the audience.
An emotional release.
It was an emotional release for the audience. Derek happened to be the facilitator, masterfully facilitated that experience that compelled the audience to stand and clap for what they had just seen. But I don't think that was Derek's intent at all. So, was the show designed to get a standing ovation? Without confirming, I can confidently say absolutely not. So, but I think it's perfectly okay in our world of commercial performance for that to be a goal or for that to be a target achievement, right? I want the arc at the end of the show to fulfill a standing ovation. And if it doesn't, then I missed the mark. And what else can I do that is still reasonable? Anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Hmm.
Well, it does give the audience this feeling of like, wow, this was so good. So it's
It does.
understandable to want that. But yeah, I agree. I don't think Derek wrote the show with that in mind. But also to the point you were making, this is a professionally produced theatrical show with a director, and we're,
Yeah,
on Broadway, off Broadway, but or
yeah,
in
Off
other,
off Broadway.
legitimate theaters in theater spaces where it is
right.
the norm to do that. And I think
Sure.
magicians a lot of times are not performing in venues where that is the norm, which also makes it feel even more awkward to solicit it, to
Yeah,
solicit
yeah.
the standing O when you're in
Mm.
like a random cafeteria, at 1 o'clock on a, we should talk to, well, we're recording another episode here in a bit. Maybe we should talk to that person about this too.
Maybe we
Um,
will.
Wait, we should.
but I also want to say I've seen, and I forget her name, but at a magic convention, I saw a magician do a dove act where she was producing doves with her feet. She was
Oh
she was
yeah.
standing on her hands, and she would rub her feet together and doves would appear. It was an 8-minute act, I assume. I wasn't timing because I was enthralled. Okay. And you know what happened at the end of that show?
Boom.
1,500 magicians instantly up.
Yeah,
Nobody asked for it,
right.
but we were so moved because it was not even a full show. It was just a well designed act
Yeah.
and it moved us. And then I
Yeah,
have
that
one
is
other thought on it after we if you guys respond to that, I have one more thing.
No, I was just going to say it does beg the question, you do have to think what are the things that will get the standing ovation? Like, is it
Yeah,
just the incredible demonstration of skill that might get the standing ovation? Is it some sort of an emotional catharsis where they need to give you the standing ovation because they've gone through this emotional journey? Like, there's a lot of reasons why you could get a standing ovation that um I get, what are we calling them? Legitimate standing ovation? Is that what we're calling? We're calling it
sure.
a
Oh,
not manufactured standing
yeah,
ovation.
unmanufactured standing,
Yeah,
Unsolicited, un
unsolicited.
yeah,
unovertly solicited.
yeah, yeah. What was
The
your other thought, Ben?
last thing I wanted to say is this is alarmingly close to asking for tips, which I don't remember if we've talked about on the pod or not.
Hmm.
But
Interesting.
the same sort of things for me apply. And it just kind of crossed my mind as we were talking about this.
Yeah,
Have we talked
That
about that asking for tips?
I
I
don't
don't feel like we
I don't
I
remember.
have.
think
I've maybe
we
mentioned
have.
it. I don't know because it does bug me every now and then. But
I am going to
um
make note that we need to talk about this.
okay, we'll talk about it. But I mean I can say my piece.
Oh,
But
you can say your piece, of course.
yeah, well, I'll say my piece. Again, it's okay to stack the deck in your favor. I have material that, I most of the time if I do it, it ends up leading to a tip. This is obviously in a close-up environment, but uh, there's some of the like skeezy tactics to tell people to tip you, and it is worth a whole discussion because also you're trying to get paid, and so you have to balance like how to get that money versus just letting it go if that's not going to happen. But I just wanted to bring that up that it's kind of similar in the like because I hear people say, that when I do this next trick, people throw money at me, and
Yeah.
I don't love it.
Yeah, you're right. It does have that same sort of
Yeah,
whatever that is, that
yeah, or even
manufactured.
like, and is this the dollar you gave me? That kind of,
Well, thanks for giving it to me, pal.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yep, yep.
There's some
Um,
nuance.
or nuance. Any other thoughts, Scotty boy?
No, no, I think we've covered. I'm anxious to see how people chime in, and I also have the copy of Genie. I did see that topic. I'm glad you brought it up. I haven't read the article either, so
Yeah,
now we can go read the article and see how right or wrong we were.
yeah, absolutely. Hey, have you guys been on the website lately, magician.org? Have you been on there in the last little while, a couple weeks?
I
The reason
Man,
I
have.
ask,
it's the homepage of my browser, man. I just
here the reason I brought it up is because I was on magician.org just the other day, and I was just kind of like I was looking for something specific, but I had to go through the navigation bar and go to the different things, and um, man, on this is the coolest thing on the website. There is a section under Discover where you can literally learn free tricks. So, like, not just learn free tricks, but learn free tricks from pros, from people who are doing it for real life audiences. And you can learn these tricks, and I'll say it again, they're free. Like, so if you're like somebody who's like into magic, and you're like, oh, I don't know any tricks. You can literally go to magician.org/learn free tricks. And that is, there's a dash in between learn free and tricks. Um, I mean, it's free. You don't have to do anything. I mean, all you have to do is like put in your email address so they can send you the free tricks. But you quite literally can learn a bunch of free tricks directly from the International Brotherhood of Magicians. Scott, if I'm remembering correctly, you helped like make some of those connections, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we developed some with the courtesy of inviting magicians to provide content and not expecting them to. We we invited certain performers to provide content, and I'm not responsible for all of the free magic that is online, but there is a wealth of stuff. In fact, let me just because it would be good just to highlight a couple things that it's all good, but there's a couple things that I would just highlight. So I'm logging in right now, really quick.
So
Uh,
I think there's something there, if I remember correctly, something there from Eric Tate,
yeah, yeah,
who's a FISM champion. I mean, if you
yep.
don't know what FISM is, then I mean most magicians do, but if you're new to magic, that's a big deal. Luis
Carry
Carrion,
on. Yeah.
What? Yeah, like really good stuff.
Yep. And then there's another section of the site which is related, and it is you can get free tricks if you're not an IBM member. So definitely go do that. And the material is very good. For members, in the members resources section,
Mm-hmm.
there is a ton of material under the members tab. Obviously, there's the linking ring library, but then there is a video section, and the virtual lecture series is there. Jam videos is there. Um, Michael Dardant's Something Up My Sleeve series is there. Um, a bunch of really cool stuff. And then in the ink and paper section under members, by the way, all of this stuff, just the virtual lecture series is easily worth your year of membership.
Oh,
Um,
no doubt.
the three tricks you can get for free whether you're a member or not. The jam sessions are easily worth by themselves, easily worth the price of membership. The ink and paper collection um, has magic books on there, tutorials from Robert Giobbe. Um,
Oh yeah, Roberto Jeffy. Yep.
Yep. And then Luis and Eric Tate and Luis Carrion both have stuff in the ink and paper section of the site as well.
Mm.
The Encore collection and the Pittsburgh Papers, which are two pieces that we did for those
Yeah.
respective conventions, are there.
Wow.
And there's tons of material in these PDFs. It's directly linked, and so you can go learn the magic that's right there. So
Would
uh,
you agree that you could put together a small show from this material?
well, yes, Jason, I think you probably could put together a small show. In fact, I think if you were clever enough and intentional enough about it, you could put together enough material in the right order that would probably effect a standing ovation.
Nice. That's what I want when I get on stage.
No,
Friends,
this is
this
because
great,
of
great
your
material to
because of your
so
fragile ego.
because of my very fragile ego.
take advantage of it. And if you're not a member and you're listening to this, hop on, become a member. It's not that expensive, and get all this cool stuff.
Absolutely. And then when you go to magician.org, go check out the section on the convention. We have a convention, the annual convention, magician.org. It's under convention tab, and you can learn all about the annual convention coming up in St. Louis in July. There'll be a ton of great magic there, great magicians. I just found out there's a new person added to the lineup, Ari. Ari is an up and coming magician. I
Yeah.
don't know if I'm supposed to share Ari's last name. It's Ari Zaret, but I think Ari just goes by Ari. So adding to, Aaron Fisher, Andrew Goldenhurst, Skylar Jade, John Armstrong, Paige Thompson, Artem Shuchin, Andy Gladwin, Jonathan Levitt, Mandy Muden, Jonathan Burns, Connie Boyd. I mean, it's a crazy lineup. So we would love to see you there. We would love to meet you there. We're going to have a whole lot of fun this summer in St. Louis, and we would love to see you too. Any final thoughts? We need to wrap up. All right, perfect. This has been a whole lot of fun. No, what, Ben?
If you enjoy the episode,
If you enjoyed the episode, hey, leave us a comment. If you want to make comments, if you want to share your thoughts with us, all of our social information are in the show notes. Feel free to leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. Like, share, comment, subscribe, all the
stand
things.
up, stand
Stand
up.
up. If you like the show, stand up.
Scott saw where I was going the whole
Yeah,
time.
yeah, that's it.
See,
But comedy's
I'm
not for everyone, right,
no, that's
Jason?
right. That's right.
Yeah.
Friends, this has been a whole lot of fun. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Jason Michaels for Ben Young, Scott Cantrell. We will see you guys next time.